Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining the session today on winning high-value customers. I'm super excited to talk to you about this topic. So we're going to dive right in. So here are just a few things just to set expectations about what we're going to cover today. So obviously 2020 has been a very interesting year for a lot of us, and consumer behaviors are changing rapidly. And so a little bit about how consumer behaviors have shifted and what you can expect for the remainder of the year and heading into 2021. Also talk a little bit about why it's so important to capture high-value customers, but really dig deep into the majority of this session into actually how to identify them, understanding their motivations and preferences, and then how to activate these customers throughout your marketing and digital channels. And then we'll wrap up at the end, talking about the impact that it can have on your business, as well as hopefully have some time for some questions. Just a little bit about me before we get started. Hi, my name is Ellen Green. I'm the Director of Loyalty and Engagement at Hathway. I'm a Texan with over 15 years of marketing experience. I've probably spent the past 10 years or so specifically in the loyalty and CRM space with a focus on digital. Have experience both on the client side and agency side, so a pretty good breadth, especially across many different industries. A lot of the clients that we work with today are in restaurants, but have lots of experience within, financial services and retail, as well as many others. Right now, I sit within the strategy organization of Hathway, really identifying opportunities for our clients to help drive business growth, especially through loyalty and CRM, but also looking at building this end-to-end customer experience. And have experience not only from a strategic standpoint, but actually the nuts and bolts of how these programs work and how to get them launched successfully in the marketplace. And also a little bit about Hathway. So Hathway is a digital growth partner, and basically our mission is to help brands drive measurable business impact. And we do that in 3 different ways. One, through data-driven strategies, disruptive digital experiences, and also modern marketing practices. And so when you look at a lot of the areas where we're helping our clients, it all is tying back to achieve one goal, and that's sales growth. I actually sit in the growth marketing piece of the organization, but work collaboratively with the digital experiences and the digital consulting side. And so on the growth marketing side, we're focused on, from a customer perspective, how we drive growth in different marketing activities, driving brand loyalty, as well as optimizing things from a communication standpoint and defining things from a persona standpoint. Partnering with the digital experiences that are building a lot of the mobile apps and web technology, and then also the digital consulting to identify the biggest opportunities for our clients and where we can drive the most business growth. And so let's jump into a lot of the content that we want to share with you today. So as many of you know, customer behaviors have shifted a lot in 2020. And so we've had a lot of success helping our customers and clients thrive in this environment. And so some of the strategies and tactics I'm going to share with you today lead back to that. And hopefully some of those brands that are struggling to really keep customers, based on where they are in the marketplace, helping you overcome. So there's 3 fundamental shifts that we're seeing from a consumer behavior standpoint. And so where customers used to have, more discretionary income to play with, a lot of times now it's shifting to this value and essentials. And so that's why we've seen the run on, certain things in 2020 that weren't normally the case. But one of the biggest factors is this change that we're seeing from a loyalty perspective. And so while customers, in a lot of cases would be loyal, especially to their favorite brands, just based on things that are happening to the environment, about 3/4 of them have actually either changed stores, brands, or just the way they shop in general. And one of those areas is digital. And so as we look at the growth of digital and also the way customers have shifted from a loyalty perspective, that's one of the reasons why we're so keen on focusing on these high customer value segments, because it's one of the areas where we've been able to see a lot of strong business growth. And then as we head into this holiday season, there are projections saying that a lot of consumer spending is going to be about 25% lower than it typically is. And so these could be great strategies to implement, in the short term and heading into 2021, as this doesn't seem to be going away anytime soon, unfortunately. One of the other trends that we're seeing is that digital is here to stay. And so if you look at the digital growth trends, they started in January and February, took a jump in March, and then really started peaking in the April and May timeframe. And while we're seeing things plateau a little bit, digital adoption is basically here to stay for the long run. And so customers are planning and intending to spend more in digital channels, even post-COVID. So what we've seen a lot, especially with our clients, is as customers adopt these channels, they don't typically migrate back to the in-store experience in a lot of cases. And so a lot of the focus areas that we have are around optimizing these and making sure that it's the best experience for customers. And so we'll talk some about that today as well. And so with all of these things taken into consideration and the way people are spending their money has changed, and the shift to digital, it's going to be now more important than ever to be able to identify and then also activate your high value customers. And so one of the ways we do this is through quantitative personas. And quantitative personas is something that Hathway and Rosemark have partnered on. And essentially what it is it allows you to identify your highest value customers that are really category heavy, but not necessarily loyal to the brand. And what's interesting is as you look at your data, you may see customers that have maybe some low frequency or low spend habits, but what you don't realize is that they're actually shopping a lot in the category. They're just not shopping with you. And so actually quantitative personas is a way to bring this to light and help you identify who those customers are that may be shopping with your competitors and earn some of their loyalty by bringing to light a lot of the motivations and preferences that are really meaningful to them. And so this all starts with some consumer research that we run across your customer base and then are able to identify with an algorithm basically customers that are very similar to those that fall into these quantitative persona segments. And then we're able to action on that across all of your different channels. And so when we look at 3 different things, we'll look at how we identify them, understanding what some of those motivations and preferences are, and then how to activate them. And so when we're looking at it from an identify standpoint, so a lot of times these quantitative personas sit in clusters. So in this example, there's actually 2 quantitative persona clusters that comprise this engaged customer group. So basically QP1 and QP2, they actually make up almost half of the category spend and about 63% of digital orders. So there's huge growth opportunities by focusing a lot of your marketing and digital efforts on these 2 personas. And so as we look at how we understand your most valuable customers and what their motivations and preferences are, so a lot of what is looked at in the data whenever we start working with clients is behaviors. And so, you can see in your data, what people are buying, how much they're buying, but not always why they're buying. And so quantitative personas is really designed to get at the why. And so there's some customers that may be really sensitive from a price standpoint where you can actually, use discounts and incentives and rewards to drive that behavior, where others could care less about that in some instances. And it's really more about the convenience and what you can do to make their lifestyle easier. And then other customers' social status can be really important to them. And being able to show that off and share that with others. And so the quantitative persona method basically takes the behaviors of, what and how much people are buying paired with the why they're actually buying. And then that's how we're able to increase relevance and effectiveness. And so the way that we're able to activate this, so we basically, align with our clients on meeting their goals. Three of the ones that I brought together today are, some of the more popular ones with our clients as far as focusing on things from, every single from the top of the funnel down, everything from acquisition, engagement, and retention. It really can be used throughout the entire customer journey. It can also be activated in multiple channels, so owned digital channels such as app and web, but a lot of times it's used in things like social and targeted ads from like an acquisition perspective, as well as other channels across the CRM spectrum. And then even in loyalty programs and the way that they're designed or the way that the benefits are communicated to customers. And so if you have a customer base that's maybe highly centered on a lot of those convenience-based motivators, actually bringing those to light, either as published benefits and actually catering your loyalty program and either the overall design or just the way the benefits are communicated, especially if somebody onboards in the program. And so one of the things we thought would be great to bring to light is let's take a look at quantitative personas in action. Today, we're going to look at the restaurant category specifically, but actually a lot of this data and insights can be applied to other categories as well. But we'll look at it from the lens of somebody visiting restaurants and what those quantitative personas look like. And so when we're looking at the restaurant category personas, there's two that really come to life. The first one is called the on-the-go convenience seeker, and very much like the name shows, they eat often, they have a very busy lifestyle, they're always on the go, and they actually view eating out as more convenient and less expensive than cooking at home. When they're looking at things from a loyalty standpoint, things like rewards and discounts aren't as important to them. But things like electronic ordering and anything that you can do to increase speed or make the process easier is extremely appealing to this group. When they're looking at what restaurants that they would choose, a lot of them view the restaurants as pretty much the same. And so, if they're choosing from A and B, the one that's going to be able to deliver that faster, easier experience is the one that they're going to choose and migrate in that direction. And then on the flip side, the social restaurant lover is one that really likes to indulge. They like to socialize. They like to go out to eat with family and friends or be around friends and family when they're eating at home. And they basically have an emotional connection with a lot of the restaurant brands that they love and a lot of commitment as well. They do a lot of selection based on, ingredients and the overall experience, but they do find a lot of value from a discounts and a reward standpoint and expect to be rewarded in that way. From a communication standpoint, they actually have the appetite to receive a lot higher frequency of communications. They like things like updates from the brand, first to know items, early access to things, and they like to be part of a broader community. They're also ones that are more likely to share on social channels and things like that, or be part of a lot of the crowdsourcing activities that your brand may activate. And so brought to life a customer, Joanne. So Joanne is actually, she falls into the quantitative persona segment of on-the-go convenience seeker. She's about 35 and lives in the suburbs of Dallas and is really heavy in the restaurant category. So right now she's eating lunch out about 15 times in the past month, but at 12 different unique restaurants. So there's lots of ability to shift her share within those 15 visits. And also she uses a lot of digital ordering for her meal occasions. And so when you look down at a lot of her motivations and preferences of why she chooses some restaurants over the others, obviously convenience of eating out and catering to her busy schedule kind of hit at the top of that. Where you see on the flip side things like price and discount focus, as well as loyalty reward use, are pretty low on that spectrum. But there are other avenues that she finds value in as far as bringing to light things like quality ingredients in food, and also social influence and status. And status is going to be really important, especially from a VIP perspective, and being able to motivate a lot of her behaviors. So I'm going to walk you through, how we would activate this from a cross-channel perspective, knowing Joanne and what her motivations and preferences are as an on-the-go convenience seeker. So starting from acquisition. So let's pretend that Joanne isn't a current customer, but she does see a social ad that promotes the speed of digital ordering. So at this point, she tries Sally's Cafe for lunch. She enrolls in the loyalty program. As she hits the digital experience and is placing her order, it's things like having a simple, easy checkbox integrated into that ordering process. So that's enabling her and pushing her to enroll in that loyalty program, where in other cases, she may not do that. A lot of the things that we do from an acquisition perspective are looking at those motivations and preferences. And so having different creative that focuses on things like digital ordering, speed, easy reorder, and things like that, either for current or new customers from an acquisition perspective, versus some of the discounting layers that could bring in some of the more social restaurant lovers into your mix. After she joins the loyalty program, she's going to start receiving her onboarding. And this whole thing is customized around the convenience based on the acquisition message that she came in on. And so a lot of the benefits that are going to be highlighted are around the easy reorder and also the ability to increase her status. As part of the onboarding series, there's also some data capture elements that can confirm that she's part of this segment. And so there's something that we can do to actually infer that she is based on the source and the creative of the ad that brought her in. But being able to confirm that during onboarding is another great way to do that. If for some reason we don't get that data during the onboarding process, the algorithm can run and basically solidify if that person is in fact, this on-the-go convenience seeker, so that from a long-term perspective, if you're marketing to that customer in that right way, or if their quantitative persona would happen to change over time. And then from an engagement perspective, because she's shopping so heavy in the category, it's completely plausible that she's going to come back. And so from just a cadence perspective and what we want to communicate to Joanne, we're looking at promoting things like one-click reordering of her favorites, and also doing things like customizing the dashboard of the app so that that's front and center as she opens it, making for this easy and seamless experience. After that, following up with communications that focus on the quality ingredients of the website. And this is causing her to return and kind of shift some of her share to Sally's Cafe. This has worked really well, basically focusing on this need of not to discount this customer segment and not wasting dollars in that area when that's really not driving any incrementality from these customers. And so being able to engage customers like Joanne with benefits around speed and status is where we're seeing a lot of the wins. And then from a retention perspective, at this point, Joanne is one visit away from reaching this premier status. We're able to remind her at that point that in addition to unlocking the Black card, and she'll also get the new Skip the Line benefit, which makes her experience even better. So being able to customize benefits from a loyalty perspective is really important, as well as, after she makes her first visit, she's able to immediately see that status. The recognition is another thing that we're able to incorporate. And so looking at non-monetary benefits and how those can be incorporated into the loyalty program can save a lot of money and also be much more motivating to customers that are in this segment. And so from a customer that was doing no business with this client to now spending over $1,200 a year, there's a huge shift and a lot that can be driven even with a smaller subset of customers. And so when we're looking at a lot of the growth from either on-the-go convenience seekers versus the social restaurant lovers and the all other QP clusters, there's a couple different things that play here. So one is the aspect of digital ordering and what percentage of customers are doing that. And two is the participation in the loyalty program, which you'll see they're much more likely in those top two segments. And you'll see similar things like that across different industries. When you're looking at kind of the incrementality in the spend, a lot of times we're seeing, up to a little less than 2 to over 2 times more value in the past 30 days, so that it adds up incredibly quickly. And so focusing on these two customer segments, and we do a lot of testing and piloting too to see how that compares to your business as usual marketing strategy, and so that all of their QP clusters can receive that. And that's a lot of the ways that we action upon this and are able to prove out the value from the long term of why focusing on these customer segments is so important, and doing it throughout the entire customer life cycle. So we've seen really great results. Not only is this incredibly efficient from a marketing standpoint, I know as a marketer, sometimes it's really hard to get to that one-to-one level of personalization, but being able to focus on these high-value customer segments is a great way to streamline that from a content perspective, an action perspective, and then in the long run, from an acquisition dollar perspective, the cost to acquire these customers can be a lot less. It helps you optimize your dollars and know that the customers that you are acquiring are actually high value, and will drive results in the long term. And then from a monthly revenue perspective, when we're focusing on a lot of these high value quantitative personas versus the less profitable segments, we're seeing about 3.3x in monthly revenue, which is great. And so that's a lot of the ways that we're using this today from a digital CRM and loyalty perspective. And so at this point, I'm happy to open it up to any questions if anybody has any. Anyone have any questions? We have one question about how many QP clusters exist in total. So there's actually 6 clusters that exist. We action upon the top 2 just because of the value and the efficiency in it. A lot of the other ones are typically pretty unengaged from a brand perspective, or have so low frequency and value in the category that a lot of time it's not worth it from a marketing perspective to start customizing the strategies for those customers. Does anyone else have any questions? Well, thank you all for attending the session. Please let me know if you need anything else, and it was great to have you. Thank you.